So today we're going to look at the idea of counterfeits. Counterfeits is not a word you find in the Bible. However, the concept of counterfeits is there.
Okay.
So I first began to think about this idea in relation to people. There was a lady at the place where I worked who was just so wonderfully kind and gracious and sweet and loving when she's on the phone to customers. And then she hangs up the phone and just becomes absolutely vitriolic in her criticism and her complaints and her just mean and nasty comments. And I'm like, wait a minute. There's something wrong here. The Bible tells us we're supposed to be kind, but I mean, doesn't it go deeper than just saying nice words and then spewing out hatred?
Mm-hmm.
And then there are also people who, when you ask them how they like your hair or how they like your clothes or something, they tell you. You don't necessarily like what they say, but you always know exactly what they're thinking. And so again, but I read in the Bible that we're supposed to tell the truth. And so how does that work? So then I read in John 1:14, it says that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So I started thinking about that, grace and truth. Yeah, the thing that makes grace really gracious is when it's truth, it mixed with truth.
Yes.
The thing that makes truth really truthful is when it's mixed with grace. And we see Jesus in many, many places throughout the Gospels where he demonstrates that. One of the most clear ones is in John 4 with the woman at the well.
Yes.
Okay? He meets this woman at the well who's coming out by herself at midday. That tells us there's something wrong. Okay? We don't know what, the Bible doesn't tell us, but there's something there going on. So Jesus asks her for a drink, and she says, whoa, how come you're talking to me? Because men didn't talk to women, but then Jews didn't have anything to do with Samaritans. And so Jesus strikes up a conversation with her in which he tells her he's the Messiah. But before that, he asks her to go and bring her husband. And she says, I don't have a husband. And he tells her the truth. You don't have a husband. You've had 5 husbands. And the man you're living with now is not your husband. That's pretty truthful.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
The thing that's really amazing about that story is that after some more conversation in which he tells her that he's the Messiah, she runs back into the village where she's had 5 husbands and where she's living with someone who's not her husband now, and tells those people, come and meet a man who can tell you everything I ever did. Now, if you met someone who could tell us everything you ever did, would you race to bring them here to meet us?
No.
So that's the first thing that's amazing about that.
Wow.
Okay? And that's our first clue that there is something different about the truth this man is telling her. Okay? We don't have any idea about her 5 husbands. One thing we do know culturally is that she is not divorced and hopped from man to man. That was not possible in that culture. Okay? So either her husbands have divorced her or they may have died. We don't know. I'm going to suggest that the reason she came at noon was not so much because she had done such shameful things, although she was now living with a man she wasn't married to. But what if it was that her husbands had either died or divorced her? Maybe they did die, and the villagers are going, okay, maybe we not better give her anybody else to marry. Who knows? I mean, who knows the grief that she's feeling from having that kind of loss? And now coming to a place of such desperation that she winds up living with a man she's not married to, even though in that culture it was even more egregious than it is today.
Yeah.
The other clue I have is that when she went into the town and said, come and meet this man who can tell us everything I ever did, they listened. They followed her.
Yes.
They went out to meet him. They didn't go, oh, ho, ho, here comes Our Lady and she's got another man on town. This time it's the Messiah. They didn't do that. They went with her and they listened. There's something about grace and truth that was so powerfully mixed in Jesus that even though he nailed her in such a kind way that she went to get everybody else to show them to him. Show him to them. Show everybody to everybody.
That's right.
And they came to a place where after he had stayed with them, where they said, now we believe, not just because of what you told us. That indicates that there was some level of belief from what she said to them. And probably just her face and her countenance going back into that town with excitement and with life in her voice was enough to go, whoa, something has happened here.
Yes.
Okay? So there is this blend of grace and truth that when it's in balance and blended together properly makes up the trait of love. Okay? Now, those traits can be separated and pushed out of balance, such as the Pharisees. The Pharisees did everything right. They kept all the laws, they did everything, they kept themselves unsullied from the riffraff, but their heart was nowhere near the heart of God.
Yeah.
And so we see that again in John 8 with the woman caught in adultery. Okay? So here we have truth. She's broken the law. The law says that she should die. Where's the truth? I mean, the last time I studied adultery, I think it takes two. Okay?
Yeah.
So why did these men bring only one woman if they caught her in the very act? Okay? So there's some level of truth, but without any grace. But Jesus blended the two of them. Okay? He stooped and wrote on the sand. We don't know what he wrote. Maybe he wrote the names of the women that these guys had slept with. I don't know. Or some other thing that they were hiding. But he said something that caused them to exit stage right.
Yeah.
Okay? And then to the woman, he spoke both grace and truth. Is there no one who condemns you? No man, Lord. Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more.
Hallelujah.
Okay? So there's
right
that
there.
blend of grace and truth.